Okay, last question, question 10, asks us to sketch the graph of the function f of x and g of x. So f of x is a nice modular function, so it's the modulus of f of 4x plus 3. And with these functions, we've seen before that there are a few different points that we can look for that will help us sketching this graph. So the first one is where the graph itself is equal to 0, so where the y value is equal to 0, and that's going to be when x is equal to minus 3 over 4. So let's just take a note of these points here, so that we have them for ourselves. Another point we can try is where we can try when x is equal to minus 1, just to pick a point. Okay, so let's just try where x is equal to minus 1. It's good to pick a point maybe on either side of the minus 3 over 4. So when x is equal to minus 1, we get 4 by minus 1 plus 3, which is going to be then minus 4 plus 3, which is minus 1, which is then 1. So we have minus 1, minus 1, 1. Okay, we'll have to get this one done. Then let's pick 1 on the other side, so we'll do minus a half, and we have 4 minus a half plus 3, so we get minus 2 plus 3, which is then going to be 1 and 1. Okay, so minus a half, 1, and we will pick one more point. We'll do where x is equal to 0, just to find that point where it crosses the y-axis. So that's going to be 0 plus 3, which is 3. So 0, 3. Okay, so we have a good few points there to work with for ourselves. The key thing here, I suppose, is to keep it as neat as we can, keep it as accurate as we can, keep those lines as straight as you can. Okay, a little bit straighter than I've done there, but we do our best. So obviously you'll use a ruler. I can't use a ruler on this here, but we'll use a ruler in an exam situation. And just make sure that you're keeping your axes accurate, that you're keeping the width between them the same. If there are squares, use the squares. Don't just draw it kind of in the middle of the graph. Your units don't have to necessarily be an accurate length. So when I've said there 1, I said, okay, well, I'm going to say on the y-axis that 1 unit is 2 squares, and then I've kept that consistent here between these, that for every 1 unit I've left 2 squares. On the x-axis I've said that every 1 unit is 4 squares, and the reason I've done that is to give me space to draw in this minus 3 over 4. So long as you're consistent on the axes, it's okay. You don't have to have the same on both axes. So let's just mark in the points that we have. This one here and this one here. Okay, and we're going to try and keep it as neat as we possibly can. Drawing through this point here and on through this point here. Okay, so that's going to be our f of x. Then our g of x, we'll draw in another colour, maybe the blue. G of x was equal to 3, so we just draw a line across at y is equal to 3 here. That will give us our g of x. Then we were asked to use our graph to find the solution to the inequality f of x. The modulus of f of x plus 3 is less than or equal to 3. So to do that, we're going to look at where these graphs cross over. So here and here. We're going to draw our dotted lines down, and we're going to take note of these points. So it's when x is equal to minus 3 over 2, and when x is equal to 0. And we've been asked to find where the modulus of f of x plus 3 is less than or equal to 3. So that's going to be where this red graph is below the blue graph, so that's anywhere in this highlighted section here. So our answer is going to be one of these inequalities where it's between two values. So from 0, from minus 3 over 2 all the way up to 0, our modulus equation is below 3, is less than or equal to 3. So that's what we're estimating from the graph. The next question, as we kind of would expect, is asking us to verify that algebraically. So we have two ways of doing this, as we've had before. First of all, we can write out our question, less than or equal to 3. We can set the middle part, the 4x plus 3, equal to the positive or the negative 3. So remembering that the modulus changes, so the modulus of minus 3 is still 3, gives us the positive value. So if the modulus of 4x plus 3 is less than or equal to 3, then what that means is that the middle part, the 4x plus 3 itself, without the modulus sign, has to either be less than 3 or bigger than minus 3. So for example, if it was minus 2, the modulus of minus 2 would just be plus 2, and that is less than 3. So it's following through it that way. So we can solve this one. Minus 6 is less than or equal to 4x is less than or equal to 0, and dividing across by that 4, which is allowed no problem because it's not a minus sign, we get the same inequality that we had already. The other way that we can do it, that we've done before, was to square both sides. So 16x squared plus 24x plus 9 is less than or equal to 9. We get 16x squared plus 24x is less than or equal to 0. We can factor out, we can factor out there an 8x altogether. We get 8x and x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0. We can let it equal to 0. So 8x is equal to 0, x plus 3 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 0, or x is equal to, 2x plus 3. 2x plus 3, yeah, minus 3 over 2, there we go. And we can draw out our sketch as we've always done. Drawing through here, so our 0, our minus 3 over 2. We look at our equation, we're being asked where it's less than or equal to 0, which is this part here. So again, our answer is between minus 3 over 2 and 0. Okay, so two different ways of doing that, and we get the same answer both times, and also matches up with the answer we got in the first part using our graph. So it shows that our graph is still fairly accurate there. So key thing with this question overall, I suppose, is keep your graph accurate, use the same space between your different points on your two axes. It doesn't have to be the same on both axes, but so long as it's consistent along the x-axis or consistent along the y-axis. 1 unit doesn't have to be 1 centimeter, it just has to be consistent. Use the few points, so look for a few points that you can find that you can use to help you make that equation or draw that graph as easy as possible. And then for the last part, you have your two different ways of doing it. Whichever you choose, just make sure that you're happy with how you can do it. We did a good few of these in class as well. We mainly used the one on the right hand side, so the squaring, because it brought us back to our inequalities that we'd done some work on. But equally, if you understand it and you're happy with it and it makes more sense, you can use the left hand side there either. But that is the last question. So hopefully these have made some more sense, I suppose, and we can have another look through it then